Welcome to TC Talk Sports. I'm not going to do some YouTube intro. I'm filling out the bracket. You're going to love it. You're probably going to end up copying me anyways, as you should. I already know this is going to be broken up into multiple parts because I usually don't even finalize my bracket until like Thursday morning. So if you like this part one, make sure you hit subscribe and get ready for the rest of the bracket. There's no time to waste. Pop the ghost before this. I'm ready. Let's go. But before I start, you can't tell me this is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen in your life. I mean, seriously, come on. All right, here we go. First round starting in the South. Auburn versus either Alabama State or St. Francis University. Me being a Pennsylvania man, I should be taking St. Francis University. Don't know if they'll even win that play-in game, but obviously this is one of the easiest choices of the bracket. Auburn obviously advancing to the second round. Oh boy, game number 2 on this side, already a tough one to go with. Louisville versus Creighton. Louisville getting the 8 seed. I don't necessarily think they deserve that. They could have been anywhere from like a 5 or 6, I think. Creighton, always a strong team in the tournament, but Louisville has been playing really well this year, especially considering their god-awful season last year. Here I am, already stuck in a tough position. Louisville or Creighton? Creighton doesn't foul. Ryan Kalkbrenner, good player overall. 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. That's just insane. Stephen Ashworth, he's married, has a kid, he's experienced. Already hit with a tough decision. Louisville, the 8 seed versus Creighton, the 9 seed. Oh boy, usually I skip these type of games where if I don't just click automatically, I skip over it, but to keep the video short and actually be able to finish the bracket, I'm going to make every single pick right here. Louisville versus Creighton to match up versus Auburn in the second round. Every Louisville game I have watched, they've been intense. Chucky Hepburn is really that dude. So I think Louisville's better than an 8 seed, so I'm taking the Cards in this one. Michigan versus UC San Diego, the 5 versus the 12. Michigan, I've been seeing a lot of things about their turnover problems. Donaldson, their point guard, I think he's a good point guard, but a little sporadic and crazy at times, turning the ball over. UC San Diego, one of the best teams in assist-to-turnover ratio. I believe they are 3rd best in the entire country, 5-12. That's a common upset where the 12 seed could take it. Michigan, they have been playing well as of late. Unfortunately, I haven't really seen the whole bracket. I wasn't able to watch Selection Sunday. Kind of wanted this to be my first chance look at the bracket. Of course, I know some matchups, and I have seen that there's some other 5 seeds that I like that unfortunately might get upset later on. Again, this is another tough one. There's got to be upsets somewhere. I assume there's going to be more later on. I don't know. I don't care about those turnover problems. Michigan's got the size. They got the scores on the offensive side. So I think avoiding an upset here, we're going with Michigan. The 4 versus 13, Texas A&M versus Yale. I am not high on Texas A&M this year. The past 2-3 years, especially since Wade Taylor IV has been there, I've taken Texas A&M to make deep runs. Last year, I took them in my Final Four. The fact that they're one of the best rebounding teams in the country, one of, if not the best offensive rebounding team in the country, I just think that's going to be too much for Yale in round 1. So Texas A&M avoiding the upset in round 1. Here we go. Starting with the controversy. Ole Miss versus either San Diego State or North Carolina. If you follow me on any social media, you know I'm a big North Carolina fan. With that being said, do they deserve to be in the tournament? Probably not. Am I happy about it? Yeah, why not? But I think they got a tough matchup versus San Diego State to even really officially get onto that line. Ole Miss coming into the season, I thought they would be better than they actually were. They finished 22-11. I thought Matthew Morrell would have a really good season for them. That wasn't really the case. Sean Padula, the sharpshooter from Virginia Tech, transferred in for them. He's been playing better as of late. San Diego State, one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think that game versus UNC is going to be scrappy and kind of low scoring. Not really sure who's going to win that game. I think UNC will squeak away with it, but matching up versus Ole Miss, I think really could be a flip of a coin for either of those teams. I think San Diego State has a better chance of beating Ole Miss in that one than North Carolina does. But Ole Miss have been playing a little bit better towards the end of the season. Haven't really had an upset yet. We'll play it safe here. We'll take Ole Miss. 3 versus 14, Iowa State versus Lipscomb. Don't know anything about Lipscomb. Iowa State at the beginning of the year and towards the middle part of the year was definitely one of the best teams in the country. They've been exposed a couple times, especially late in the season. I mean, I think they got the guys to at least handle that first round matchup. Still no upsets for me, but Cyclones I think will be an easy win for them. Marquette versus New Mexico, the 7 versus 10. Coming into the season, I thought Marquette has a chance to make a deep run. Cam Jones, one of the best players in the country. I mean, without a doubt, his shooting numbers are down this year, especially compared to last year. He's still a good shooter. He can pass, he can rebound, he can defend. I'm a big Shaka Smart guy. His teams always play with a lot of energy and physicality. You need that in the tournament. I just can't see Marquette losing that game. It might be close, but I think Marquette, a good enough team to at least avoid that minor upset in round 1. Last game in the South, Michigan State versus Bryant. I've seen people very high on Michigan State, possible Final Four championship contending team. I don't quite see them as that just yet. Definitely a good team. Tom Izzo has done a great job with them so far this season. But them being a 2, going up against 15 seed Bryant, I just don't see an upset there either. And as I go through, it looks like the South, no upsets for me because I'm taking Michigan State in this game. So I don't think there'll be any upsets, but if anything, I could see UC San Diego taking down Michigan, maybe Creighton beating Louisville. Who knows? I'm going no upsets. Sue me. Now down to the first round in the West, Florida versus Norfolk State. This is the easiest pick of the bracket. Florida, I've been high on them since the beginning of the season, and now that they won the SEC championship, a lot of people are going to be on that bandwagon, but I was there well before. Florida is going to kill them in this game. A line, anything under 40, I'm taking the spread for Florida in this one. UConn versus Oklahoma. There's a lot of controversy with this bracket reveal this season. Oklahoma went like 6-12 in the conference or whatever, and people were just disgusted that they made it. UConn, obviously, the back-to-back champs. I think Hurley's going to have those guys ready to go. Alex Caravan, he's back. He's experienced. I just don't think Oklahoma's all that good of a team. Really, UConn, they're always a good team in the tournament. Taking the Huskies in this one. Memphis versus Colorado State, the 5-12. This is the one I was scared of. I love Memphis this year. They might be more deserving than a 5 seed. I think they're really good, especially offensively. PJ Haggerty, one of the best pure scorers in the country. I think he's top 5 in scoring average. The transfer, Dane Danger, the big boy down low. He played really well in the conference tournament. He played well throughout the whole season. But then when I saw that they were a 5 seed, that kind of broke my heart a little bit because I low-key wanted to take them deep in this tournament. But first they have to escape that 5-12 upset, which I think they will do. Taking the Memphis Tigers in round 1. Maryland versus Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, those were my boys last tournament. I took them to make it to the Final Four. I think they made it to at least a Sweet 16. They might have made it to the Elite 8. But Maryland also low-key, another good team this year. Experienced starting lineup. If they get in foul trouble, their bench really just doesn't have that much experience or minutes throughout this season. Derek Queen, he's going to be a lottery pick in the draft, one of the best big men in the country, one of the best players in the Big Ten. I think this will be a close game, probably pretty high scoring, but I can't go with my gut like I did last year and taking Grand Canyon to make a deep run. Maryland, I think they're going to escape this. This left side, still no upsets, but there's a lot of games left to pick. We go to the 6-11, Missouri versus Drake. Missouri, really a Cinderella-type season this year for them themselves. Similar to Louisville, they were not a good team last year, but they have been playing well this year. Drake, when you look at those Ken Palm rankings and all that stuff, Drake is up there in a lot of categories. A solid team. They were a good team last year. They lost their head coach, but they're still a good team this year. 30-3. Obviously they don't play in a Big Four or a major conference, but 30-3 is still a really good record. I really haven't been a fan of Mizzou this whole season. So here we go. My first upset, we're taking the Drake Bulldogs over Mizzou. 3 versus 14, Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. Texas Tech coming into the tournament, I think they're a low-key, really, really good team. Chance McMillan is an absolute bucket. Toppin, Big 12 Player of the Year, definitely deserved it this season. Kerwin Walton, North Carolina transfer, he's a good shooter from the outside. I just think Texas Tech is a really good offensive team, a really solid team on the defensive side of the ball. UNC Wilmington, always a threat for whatever reason in the tournament to make a deep run or at least a first-round upset. But I just think Texas Tech this season, too good, taking the Red Raiders in round 1. Kansas versus Arkansas. I watched literally like 2 minutes of the selection show on Sunday. Saw Kansas the 7 seed, Arkansas the 10 seed. Before the season even started, I thought these two were championship contending teams. Arkansas at times has absolutely sucked this year, but then have beaten big opponents like Kentucky. They did it on the night Luka got traded to the Lakers. That will just forever be stuck in my mind. But I wanted to take both of these teams deep this year, and of course they face off against each other in round 1, so now I have to make a very big decision. They do get the winner of St. John's in Omaha, which I think it'll be St. John's, so that'll be a tough round 2 game. But, I mean, that's 7-10. I predicted Kansas would be a 7. I thought Arkansas might be lower than a 10 just because of the horrible losses they've had this season. Arkansas without Boogie Flan, one of the best freshmen in the country. They're a super experienced team, good head coach in Bill Self. The defense is pretty solid. Their offense, I think, should be really good, led by transfer Zeke Mayo and A.J. Storr. A.J. Storr set a career high in points in the Big 12 tournament versus Texas Tech. I just think I can just see Arkansas flopping here and having another one of those bad games. I'm sticking to my gut since the beginning of the year. Kansas will win. We'll see how far I take them. But, I mean, just can't get it out of my head that Kansas is going to make a deep run. Like I said, bottom of the West here, St. John's versus Omaha. Don't know much about Omaha, but they're a 15 seed. St. John's a 2 seed. I don't think St. John's is a Final Four or a championship contending team, but Rick Pitino has done an excellent job with them this year. R.J. Lewis has definitely put his name out there on draft boards to be drafted come the summer. They're a tough team. I mean, offensively, they're not the best shooting team, but they're aggressive, a physical, just a classic Big East team. They're obviously, what I think is obvious, is going to win that first round, and they face Kansas in the second round. We'll see how that ends up. Do I stick to my gut and go with Kansas, or will the toughness of St. John's prevail? We'll just have to wait and see. Moving to the East, Duke, the number 1 seed, obviously. They'll face the winner of American or Mount St. Mary's. That don't matter. Doesn't matter if Cooper Flagg's healthy or not. He probably won't even play in that game. Easy pick here. Duke will probably win that game by 30. Mississippi State versus Baylor, that 9-8. Also coming into the year, I thought Baylor would be a pretty good team, definitely better than what they finished the season at. 19-14, I didn't really expect that at all. Freshman VJ Edgecombe is going to be a lottery pick in the draft as well this summer. Jeremy Roach transferred there, a super experienced player, just doesn't get a whole lot of minutes. Norchad Omier transferred there as well from Miami. He's been really solid for them this year, basically averaging a double-double. Mississippi State, I mean, they played in the SEC, the best conference by far this season, probably one of the best in the history of college basketball. 9-8, little bit of an upset, but I'm sticking to my gut from just watching all year, taking Baylor over Mississippi State to face Duke in the second round. I think that might be an interesting matchup. Just off the top of my head, I think Duke, they have the size, the rebounding, and the defense to pull out that game. Oregon versus Liberty. Liberty, a good offensive team. Oregon, the last couple weeks, I said I low-key kind of like them to make a deeper run, maybe like Sweet 16, Elite 8. Then the brackets came out. They were a 5 seed, and that immediately got me worried. You know, there's always one 12 seed upsetting a 5 seed, and this is going to be the one for me. Liberty, they're going to beat Oregon in the first round. Arizona versus Akron, the 4-13. Arizona made a deeper run in the Big 12 tournament than I would have thought they were capable of. Caleb Love, he's probably 26 years old now at this point, but Arizona still a solid team. Akron, a good, high-powered offensive team. Arizona, they're always kind of just F up in the tournament, never capable of making that deep run. I don't think this team is as good as teams in the past. Akron could be a sneaky good team. I think this is going to have to be my first big upset of the bracket. Akron taking down Arizona in round 1 to face Liberty, setting up a 12-13 matchup in round 2 with the upsets to Oregon and Arizona. Oh, I didn't know this was a matchup. BYU versus VCU, the 6-11. BYU has low-key been one of the best teams in the country this season. Just really good. They can shoot the shit out of the ball, that's for sure. They get after it on the defensive end. They don't turn it over too much. A good passing team. A lot of people have them making a deep run in this tournament, but I've watched the last 3 VCU games. VCU is always dangerous in the tournament too if they get there. But this year's team, the offensive rebounding was absolutely nuts that I saw in those 3 games, and they relentlessly shot the 3 ball. I kind of want to take VCU here, but if BYU wins, I could see them possibly getting to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. They would have to go through teams like Wisconsin, maybe St. Mary's, and then Alabama at the bottom of this eastern side. I think VCU is also capable of making a deep run. This is a tough one for me. Already have those 2 upsets with Liberty and Akron. But I could also see Duke getting an easier path just because sports might be fixed. Who knows? But BYU versus VCU, this is definitely going to be one of the best first-round matchups. Super excited to watch this one if I can, because work is really getting in the way of my college basketball watching. BYU, VCU. This is a game I would definitely skip and take some time to think about. BYU, an incredible season. VCU winning the A-10. I'm just going to pull the trigger. Give me VCU. I hope I don't come back to regret that. I know BYU is really good. A lot of people are going to be very upset with that. I might be upset with myself, but I think there's going to be a lot of upsets in this bracket. This eastern side's really starting to get to me. Whatever. Wisconsin versus Montana, the 3 versus 14. Wisconsin, I think, is another team super capable of making a deep run. John Tonje has been one of the best players in the country. We saw that throughout the Big Ten tournament. Montana, I just don't think they really stand a chance in this one. Give me the Badgers. St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, another low-key good season for them, battling through the SEC this year. St. Mary's, always a solid team, one of the best rebounding teams in the country. I believe they are number 1 in rebound margin. Vanderbilt, again, just another one of those SEC teams, similar to Mizzou. They battled through the regular season, but I just think St. Mary's, too good defensively, too good of a rebounding team. The Gales will win round 1. Alabama versus Robert Morris, the 2-15. I'm from Pittsburgh. What a Cinderella story it has been for Bobby Moe. I think they were predicted 6th or 7th in the Horizon League this season. Ended up winning the championship. I think they got a really tough draw going against Alabama in this first round. As soon as I saw that happen, I texted people and said, Bobby Moe versus Alabama, my God. I mean, good luck to them. A couple games I did watch from Robert Morris. Pretty solid team overall, but Alabama, again, another team super capable of making a deep run in this tournament. Could be a championship contender. Had a good run last year. Robert Morris, similar to the Duquesne team from last season, they won a first-round matchup and kind of continue their Cinderella story. Possibly put Bronny James on the radar to go there, but I just think Alabama, too good. Offense way too high-powered for Robert Morris. Alabama, I think, will easily win that game. Down to the Midwest now. Houston versus SIU Edwardsville. I mean, Houston, the best defensive team in the country, one of the best teams in the country. Not going to blab on about this one. Gonzaga versus Georgia. Georgia, again, I think falls into that category for me with Missouri and Vanderbilt that, yes, they deserve to be in the tournament. Georgia, I mean, they were kind of on the edge like the last couple weeks of the season, but I think Gonzaga at an 8 seed, I think they could have been a little higher, maybe like a 6 or a 7, but I just think offensively they've been playing too good, especially in the conference tournament. G versus G, I'm going with Gonzaga in this one. Houston versus Gonzaga in round 2. Keep your eyes open on that one. I think that's going to be a really good game. A little bit of upset potential there for the Zags over Houston, but I think that's going to be in a part 2 because this round 1, of course, is taking a while because so many thoughts just run through my brain. While doing this, it's tough to make decisions, but Gonzaga versus Houston, we could see an upset there in round 2. Clemson, the 5 versus McNeese at the 12. Last couple weeks of the season, Clemson just kept creeping up those rankings. I think they're a good team. Ian Shefflin, one of the best rebounders in the country. Chase Hunter, a very good offensive player, a good shooter. I thought Clemson was another team low-key capable of making a deep run in the tournament. Of course, they get stuck with a 5 seed. McNeese, I've also heard some good things about them. Offensively, I just think they're going to have to put up a lot of points. I do have a 12 seed earlier, Liberty beating Oregon. The other two on the other side, Memphis and Michigan, I took them as 5 seeds. I mean, one of these 12 seeds are going to win. I hope it's Liberty because I just can't. With my gut, I thought Clemson would be a good team, could make like an Elite 8 type of run this season before seeing the bracket, of course. But this round 1, I have to go with Clemson. I said they're a good team, and I'm going to stick to it. Purdue versus High Point, 4 versus the 13. Purdue last year making it to the championship, of course. Zach Edey, I hate him, but obviously he was pretty good with them. Braden Smith, the Big Ten Player of the Year. Last 3 years, I've telling people just how good he is. Almost averaging a double-double with points and assists. I believe he leads the country in assists per game. High Point, I also put out a TikTok like asking people who low-key might make a deep run or some sleeper-type teams. I saw a High Point comment. I've heard really good things about them this year. Even though Purdue might not seem as dominant this season as they have in the past, especially with Zach Edey and guys like Carson Edwards, Vince Edwards, I still think they're good enough to avoid an upset in this round 1. We know 2 years ago losing to Fairleigh Dickinson as the 1 seed. I just think Braden Smith, too smart with the ball. I think will get the team under control if they happen to fall behind or start playing poorly. They still have Fletcher Lawyer, a good shooter from the outside. So I just think Purdue, too good of a team this year to get upset in the first round. Next in the Midwest, Illinois, the 6th seed versus the 11th seed, either Texas or Xavier. Again, more complaints that Texas or Xavier shouldn't even be in this position to be in the tournament, but here we are. Illinois, I'm kind of surprised they didn't get a higher seed, but they've had their ups and downs this season. They got absolutely wiped out by Duke towards the end of the year. They lost by like 45 or 46 points. But I still think they're a pretty solid tournament team. Texas or Xavier, though, I can see either one of them beating Illinois. Trey Johnson for Texas, the freshman, absolute beast. He's going to be a lottery pick as well. And if he plays really well in the NCAA tournament, I think his draft stock could go even higher. But he's definitely one of the best freshmen in the country. Xavier, solid team through and through. They started off the year pretty bad, but just started playing better. They got hot at the right time. I'm going to go out and say Texas is going to beat Xavier, and then Texas is going to beat Illinois in round 1. Trey Johnson put them down for a 30-burger in that round 1 game versus Illinois. Texas, the 11th seed, advancing to round 2. Kentucky versus Troy. Kentucky, the 3 seed. Troy, the 14. I put out a video about the Blue Bloods on this channel, specifically talking about North Carolina, Kentucky, and Kansas. Kentucky, I think they have done a great job this year. New head coach Mark Pope, first year with the team. More than half the team is transfers. Lamont Butler from San Diego State, I think, is one of the best transfer pickups, I guess you could say. Amari Williams, their center. Not really one of my favorite players because I'm not a Kentucky fan, but he's fun to watch. I think he's really good. I said it's crazy how age plays such a big factor in looking at prospects for the NBA because he's now a 5th-year senior. I believe if he was a freshman, he'd be a lottery pick the way he rebounds, runs the floor, really good passer at his size at like 6'10", 6'11". I just think Kentucky's offense is going to be way too much for Troy in this one. Kentucky, one of the highest scoring teams in the country. Kentucky versus Texas, round 2. I think that could set up to be a good matchup. UCLA versus Utah State. Also in that Blue Bloods video, I just said UCLA wasn't going to make the tournament. I haven't really seen anything about them the last couple months of the regular season. Utah State, always a solid offensive team, a good, efficient three-point shooting team as well. UCLA, I mean, I just don't think they have what it takes this year. We've seen their teams better in the past, but I'm going with Utah State. A little bit of an upset, and they're going to face either Tennessee or Wofford. Tennessee, again, always a solid defensive team. This year, their offense has picked up a bit, I think, with Chaz Lanier. Zakai Ziegler has been playing really well. He's one of the best on-ball defenders in the country. I just think this is an easy game for Tennessee here, taking down Wofford. I'm having fun. Hopefully you're having fun. This was part 1 of me filling out my bracket, the perfect bracket. Here's what it looks like so far. Couple upsets, that first region, not a whole lot going on, but as I went further, more and more upsets seem to pop up. Again, this was part 1. Make sure you subscribe. Get ready for part 2. I don't know if I have a part 3. Just see how long I ramble on and how indecisive I am. But stay tuned for part 2. We're heading in to round 2.